First, I would like to welcome everyone for coming here in this cold day to Danbury. And also the Dominican Club is extremely pleased and honored that the Secretary of State, Denise Merrill, is here for, to talk to us and to talk to our community. Another thing that was also important was that we really wanted to understand the process of voting. And I think it's going to be one of our core missions in the Dominican Club of Danbury to inform and educate our community on the importance of voting, the importance of participating. We have made that one of the cores. My name is Jose Lucas Pimentel. I am the president of the Dominican Club. I would like to thank everyone in the committee for making this happen. I would also like to thank the governor and his office for the support that they are giving us. And I do believe that participation by all groups is the most important civic duty that we all have. So I would like to welcome Denise to Danbury and let her have the show.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me. It's a cold night, but so I'm impressed you've all come out to learn whatever I can share with you about my office, about how much we are concerned about the civic participation of everyone. And I'm the Secretary of the State. Most people probably don't even know what the Secretary of State's office does, but I'll explain a little bit about that to you tonight, and maybe we can talk about the two biggest areas of the things I do where I interact with people. And one of my big interests has always been citizenship, voting, but not just voting, really participating in our community in any way that you can. And I think one of the great strengths of our country is that we're all, almost all of us, from somewhere else. I'm actually part Native American, so I guess I can say, maybe we aren't all from somewhere else, but my family were Irish immigrants. My grandmother and grandfather immigrated from Ireland in the 1920s. Came here without much money at all. I think my grandmother still tells the story about how she had 17 cents in her pocket when she got here, and she came to join her sister and met my grandfather here. They immigrated to Montana. He went to work in the mines in Montana because that's where the jobs were. And from there, my grandmother ran a boarding house. She was, they were a young couple in their 20s. And then they went to California, where she started a dry cleaning business. My grandfather was a gardener and ended up building part of Golden Gate Park, the rose gardens there, and my grandmother was the one that made all the money, and she made a lot of money in her business. All the kids worked in the dry cleaning plant, along with all 17 grandchildren, including me, and that's how they built their lives in this country. And I know that many, many people come here for those reasons, for opportunity, and I think that's the strength of our country. So I'm glad you're here. I hope I can tell you a little bit about two things. The first is, and I'm assuming these things are important to you because I was told one of the reasons people were coming tonight was to hear about starting businesses in the state. I know that many people come here and they want to start a little business or do something economically in the country, and sometimes it's hard to navigate those systems if you haven't lived here and you don't understand the system. My office is the place that registers new businesses. So that's a side of what I do that a lot of people don't know so much about. And I'm here to try to help if someone wants to do that. How do you get started? How do you really even get through the process of state government? A lot of people think there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of agencies involved. So we're trying to make it easier for people, even though it's not easy. I'd be the first one to say that. I was just going to talk a little bit about that. And we do have a new online system that's going to try to help people understand what they have to do to register their business, whether it's a small business or a big one. We have given out some handouts about that. And then we can talk more about the American political system and why I think it's so important for people to, first of all, become citizens. I'm finding out that in many places in the state, there are many people who are eligible to become citizens, and don't so much anymore, you know. And I'm here to encourage people to become citizens of this country. If you are eligible, it's an important right that people have fought for. And if you are eligible, I certainly encourage you to do it. And I go to a lot of citizenship meetings where people are becoming citizens, and it's extremely heartwarming to see people from every country in the world coming here for the opportunities that America offers. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and then about your right to vote, how you do that, why it's important, and even more importantly in a way, how you can participate in your community. Because I think there's a new generation of young people and people from other countries like some of yourselves who don't really stay in one place as long as we used to. You know, we all used to stay and live in the same town, stay in the same town that our parents were in and grew up in. And now there's a lot of mobility in the country, and so people are not as tied to their communities as they used to be. And maybe you're trying to sort of put down some roots and trying to establish yourself in a community. I want to talk about why that's important, how you can get involved, and how I got into this kind of an office, and why. So first of all, let's start with the business side. My agency is where you come to register a business. If you're doing any business in the state of Connecticut, you must register with our office. And it's very simple now to do this. All you have to do is come up with a name for your business and a person who is going to be the agent for the business. Basically, could be the owner, could be a lawyer who represents your company. Once you register in my office, we have a new business startup tool, we call it, that will show you what you have to do as you're registering your business. You have to get tax numbers, and you have to go to the labor department, and you have to sometimes get a permit, an environmental permit. For example, today, if my grandmother were trying to start her dry cleaning business today, it would be a different thing than it was in 1945. Now you'd have to get permits for the chemicals, and you know, they used to probably dump the chemicals in a pit outside the back door. I have no idea. These days, we're a little more particular about what we do with those chemicals, for example. So she would have probably had to go get a permit from DEP and, you know, Department of Labor certification. She had several people that worked for her for 30 or 40 years, but I'm sure they didn't have all the advantages that workers have today. So those are just some of the things you have to think of when you're doing the business. I think everybody got this handout, and the first page just tells you about why we did this startup tool. And I wanted to introduce while I'm here Lourdes Montalvo. She works in my office. We do community outreach. We do meetings like this all over the state, you know, and she's been trying to get into communities and offer them an opportunity to learn about things like starting your own business and those sorts of things. So that on the second page where it says step 1, this is exactly what you would see if you were going online to start a business in our state. And you would enter a name that you want to name your business. Let's say I wanted to name it Denise Merrill Construction Company or something, whatever. You put it in there, and you have to see if somebody else already has that business name. And if they do, you can't use it, because we can only have one business with one name in each state. So assuming that no one else was named the Denise Merrill Construction Company, you could move on, and it says, congratulations, your name is available. So we're trying, as you can see, we're trying to make it, like, get rid of the legalese. I can say that because I'm a lawyer, but you know, to make it for the average person easier to kind of get through this. And then you can see it gets a little more complicated, because sometimes you might need a lawyer to get you through what kind of business you want and what kind of legal entity it should be, for example. And that mostly has to do with how much tax you're going to end up paying on that business and certain other kind of liability issues. But, you know, I won't take you through the whole thing, but it then takes you through how you get a tax number, how you get a registration number, and the different steps that you might have to go through. You know, it's not going to solve every problem and really make it, you know, answer every question, but at least it's a way to start. And so we really want to encourage people to be entrepreneurs, to really go out and try to start your own businesses, and we'll help you as much as we can to get going. There are many other state agencies that now are trying to help people. Department of Economic and Community Development. Maybe they have a grant or a loan that could help you out. Whatever it is, and this sort of tries to guide you through that process. So we hope it's helpful. Gives you a little bit of an idea of one part of our agency where we do all this registration of businesses. We do try to still answer the phones. We're one of the few agencies that still tries to answer every phone call in person. It's getting harder because we have, had to have cutbacks like everybody else. But we try very hard to make the state a friendly customer service place, if you will. So that's, maybe I can answer people's questions later about this sort of thing, but I guess I'll keep going.